Thank you. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, allow me first to thank the organizing committee for his invitation to address your assembly on consequences of the Arab Spring and the desirable social policy in connection with what's going on in my home country, Morocco. I am pleased to participate to this conference, which provides an important platform for the discussion and dissemination of best policies and development practices in the area of social and development work and for shaping sustainable welfare system. Your conference is held at a time when the world is witnessing profound and irreversible changes, as reflected by a series of severe crises that range from the international financial and economic crisis to the political and social crises, which have shaken several regimes, pushing some of them to the breaking point. Even though some countries are doing better than others, finding a general way out of the crisis is far from being imminent. Getting out of the crisis will take time, and the current treatment will leave its mark at several levels. These successive crises and the austerity measures they have induced pose unprecedented social challenges. Because of limited public resources, it's no longer possible to cope with tough social situations. Similarly, increasing individualism is not conducive to social cohesion and solidarity. The fast-growing elderly segment of the population in some societies and the high proportion of young people in others are putting generational solidarity to the test. Poor ethical and governance standards in the management of global financial flows have spurred several protest movements which have voiced outrage at the arrogance of making easy money at a time when large segments of the population suffer from the impact of the economic crisis and of growing social inequalities. These movements protest against rising unemployment and the lack of social justice. They are driven by a strong rejection of a model of development marked by unregulated globalization and ever-increasing social disparities. In some European countries, these movements have also been accompanied by a rise in right-wing extremism and disquieted nationalist upsurge. In several Arab countries, in addition to social demands, protest movements have claimed freedom and dignity and rejected corruption and cronyism. They have denounced the inertia and authoritarianism of certain political regimes. In those countries, protest movements were fueled by a context marked by at least 4 major factors. The first one is the exclusion generated in some societies by the traditional development model, mainly growing social and spatial disparities. The second one is the failure of political and economic governance in terms of basic rights, democracy, participation, and corruption. Third one is growing youth unemployment, especially among diploma holders. And the fourth one is the failure of education and training systems to generate social mobility and facilitate the dissemination of civic values. These movements were started mainly by young people. They developed outside political parties, unions, and associations, expressing a mistrust of conventional social and political mediation bodies. Those movements were able to use the internet and social networks to make their voice heard and bring change. They significantly and permanently transformed the modes of expression, mobilization, and protest. These movements gained strength without formal organization or leadership. Although generally peaceful, they sometimes led to insurrection and rebellions that challenged the political legitimacy of certain regimes. This lack of formal organization has been a strong point as far as the expansion of these movements is concerned. But it has also been their weakness, since it was the better structured organization which subsequently benefited from their established network to assert themselves during the post-revolution phases. A year after the start of what has been called the Arab Spring, we have to ask the following question. To what extent have the people's political, economic, and social aspirations been met? In many countries, the general picture is still far from clear, and it will take some time before a new, balanced political landscape emerges. Similarly, the cost paid by large segments of society is particularly high. In several Arab countries, the political formations which have taken over are not those that led the first movements. People must remain vigilant lest the original ideals be diverted, particularly with respect to basic rights, the promotion of gender equality, and cultural openness. Only time will tell whether the political forces that have emerged in the aftermath of this revolution will be able to address economic and social problems, carry out the necessary structural reforms, and come up with appropriate responses to the pressing expectation of the populations. To promote trust in a better future, the countries of the region must find their way to create conditions conducive to growth that offer decent jobs, a more inclusive form of social and spatial development, and a mode of governance that promotes citizen participation and transparency and that allows for accountability. Nevertheless, these common features should not obscure the fact that claims are grounded in the local realities of each country. The ability to understand these characteristic features is important to provide adequate solutions to the demands of the populations. Morocco is one of the few countries in the region whose institutions have demonstrated resilience in the face of these changes. Ladies and gentlemen, like other Arab countries, Morocco is witnessing major social changes as a result of rapid demographic shifts, strong urban development, and opening to the world economically, but also culturally through new information technologies. These deep changes impact social relations, especially at family level. It impacts also civic values and trust among people and between the latter and political and social mediation organizations. The challenges of reducing disparities in terms of both income and capacities, of developing social protection mechanisms adapted to new realities on the ground, and of promoting social mobility are topical issues today. To support the transformation in progress, Morocco, under the leadership of His Majesty King Mohammed VI, opted several years ago for the introduction of a series of internal reforms to integrate vulnerable groups and population segments, integrate them politically by promoting freedoms, respect for human rights, and achieving Moroccans' reconciliation with their past through the establishment of the Justice and Reconciliation Commission, accomplish integration through a gender-based approach by reforming personal statute laws and family laws, and by promoting women's rights, achieving cultural integration by recognizing the diverse components of the nation's identity: Arabs, Amazigh, Hassani, Jewish. And finally, achieving economic and social integration by fighting poverty and social exclusion through the National Initiative for Human Development. The reform pace has picked up speed thanks to the 2011 movements in the Arab regions, culminating in a new constitution which represents both a new stage of the reforms introduced as well as the beginning of a new generation of thorough reforms designed to prepare Morocco for the future. The early general elections of 25th of November 2011 underscored the efficiency of the new political rules, since a party which had long been in the opposition took power. In the region's political landscape, Morocco has demonstrated traditions grounded in history through the resilience of its institution and its ability to chart out in a peaceful, collaborative manner its own path to political democracy and social inclusion. Morocco has a specificity that underpins that and explains its singular journey, particularly its political system in which the monarchy enjoys historical, religious, and political legitimacy. Morocco's specificity is also reflected by its political pluralism, by a vibrant civil society, and by the country's freedom of expression. These long-time traditions enable organized structures to manage their differences in the framework of dialogue and contained rivalry. Ladies and gentlemen, in addition to the political sector, Morocco has paid attention to the economic and social development, and to this end, it has opted for a two-track approach. The first track is based on sector-specific strategies in areas where Morocco has a competitive advantage and on massive investment in infrastructure to underscore the country's strategic position and reduce spatial disparities. In this top-down approach, the aim is to make the most of Morocco's asset in the global competitive market and bring about the right conditions for the emergence of sectors that serve as a driving force for the achievement of harmonious human development. The second track is based on a bottom-up approach. It creates conditions conducive to local social development projects and federative initiatives, building on a strong involvement and an active participation of vulnerable segments of the populations. A reference should be made in this respect for the National Initiative for Human Development. Ever since it was started in 2005, it has contributed to alleviating poverty and reducing social exclusion, especially in the country's remote areas, through income-generating activities and improved access to basic social services. This is a highly decentralized, participatory approach based on partnership with civil society. It should also be pointed out that special efforts have been made to ensure adequate medical coverage for all population groups. Thus, after introducing compulsory health insurance for the benefit of public and private sector employees, who account for nearly a third of the population, a medical care system for economically poor people is being extended to all parts of the country. Once the program is fully set up and running, it will nearly benefit to 30% of the total population. An appropriate medical coverage scheme would still need to be developed to some groups like craftsmen, farmers, self-employed people, as well as students to have full-fledged coverage. Ladies and gentlemen, transforming state governance and ensuring the citizens' involvement and support require more interdependent society, as well as a wide range of non-state institutions. These civil society organizations would help to develop new solidarity-based language, as well as a cultural platform that would serve as a powerhouse of ideas, challenging official institutions. In recent years, Moroccan civil society has emerged as a vibrant player and a dynamic actor in the area of governance, building on the action of more than 40,000 active CSOs. Moroccan civil society has been playing a key role through outreach activities and innovative solutions that are tailored to the needs of the populations and that complement government action. Its work has often spurred public action and political reforms through bold proposals and new forms of citizen participation. To invigorate the status and role of civil society, the Economic and Social Council, of which I am president, has been set up in February 2011. The ESC is an independent constitutional body that undertakes advisory missions for the government and for both houses of parliament. It has 99 members representing the full diversity of Moroccan organized civil society. The ESC provides an institutional framework for expression, discussion, and convergence between sometimes conflicting interests between unions, professional organizations, and civil society groups. The ESC is a forum for civil and social dialogue and for formulation of major social contracts. The ESC considers that its mandates includes setting out proposals not only in the area of economic development, competitiveness, and innovation, but also with respect to social welfare, reducing social and spatial disparities, and promoting sustainable development. Hence, the Council gave priority to current social issues, including youth employment and integration, and a social charter. The social charter developed by the ESC is meant to be a dynamic response to current changes in Morocco. The social charter is based on a consistent frame of reference that consolidates basic rights. It is also based on a system that assesses the effectiveness of these rights using a set of objectives and follow-up indicators, and the conclusion of social contracts that are based on free negotiation between the stakeholders and shared responsibility. The rights and principles set forth in the proposed social charter constitute an indivisible package made up of 6 components: access to basic services and social welfare, knowledge training and cultural development, integration and solidarity, social and civil dialogue and innovative partnerships, on environmental protection, and the last component, accountable governance, economic security, and social democracy. Through this social charter, the ESC is proposing a framework for analyzing the conception, implementation, evaluation, and improvement of public and private policies, and for the promotion of social and civil dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, before concluding, allow me to emphasize 3 main points. First one, that in an increasingly complex and uncertain world in which the pace of change is extremely fast, a world in which tomorrow will not merely be a continuation of yesterday, we must recognize that we have to constantly reinvent the future together. To this end, we should favor approaches that build on a common set of shared values, which give meaning to our action, approaches that upgrade the capacities of the actors and help them release their energies, approaches that promote the involvement of civil society and strengthen outreach initiatives. The second point I would like to emphasize is that the current development model has shown their limitations. One way to reshape it and to rebuild trust could be through the conclusion of a new social pact around the concept of social welfare floor, as recommended by the International Labour Organization. Such a base, which would be adapted to the realities of each country, could serve as a lever to strengthen social link and community life. It would also be an investment with a positive impact on productivity, economic growth, and greater resilience. The third point I'd like to emphasize is that the globalization has fostered a universal consciousness that transcends borders. It has thus created conditions for global mobilization and partnership around social development issues. Nevertheless, globalization raises many concerns due to some excesses, and the fact that gains are neither automatic nor immediate. Moreover, benefits are unevenly distributed. Globalization implies the consolidation of regulatory tools and of solidarity mechanisms to support national capacity building and reallocate resources to the benefit of the most vulnerable countries. Thank you for your attention.